6:15. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Catherine Pereira and read by Lavani Vijayatunga. First, we take a look at the headlines. The need to seek solutions for the present economic crisis has been pointed out. Primary health services should be strengthened in order to minimize the patient's congestion in government hospitals. Deputy Secretary of State for Management and Resources will travel to India, the Maldives and Sri Lanka. Two Iranian naval ships dock at the port of Colombo. In news overseas, Ukrainian troops leave embattled eastern town. Those are the headlines, and now let's move on to the details of the local news. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardana says that a new path should be sought with the private sector or foreign investors to seek solutions for the present economic crisis faced by the country. He made this remark while opening the newly constructed building complex at the Bandaravala railway station. This building complex was constructed to expand the facilities for the local and foreign tourists at this railway station. Bandaravala area is popular among tourists based on the upcountry railway line. This will help to enhance the living condition of the people in the area. Minister Dr. Ramesh Patirana says that the primary health conservation program and the health services should be strengthened in order to minimize the patients' congestions existing at the government hospitals. He made these remarks at a special discussion held with the officials of the staff of the Batikalo and Ampara hospitals. He engaged in an observation tour at the Ampara General Hospital and Batikalo Teaching Hospital. He stated that the objective is to maintain the government hospitals network in a more systematic manner with better facilities. The Ministry of Health is to provide speedy solutions to the existing issues relevant to hospitals at district level. 20 billion rupees has been allocated to recommence the development projects that were temporarily suspended in the hospitals. The Railways Department is constructing the two-way railway lines from Gatame to Sarasavi Uyana. In addition, the construction work of the bridge at the B364 road will begin on Monday. A 6-month period is required to complete the construction work. Therefore, the department has requested the public to use the alternative roads as the road is closed during this period. This is the news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. And we continue with more local news. Two Iranian naval ships, INS Bushehr and INS Tanub, docked at the port of Colombo last morning on a formal visit. The visiting ships were welcomed by the Sri Lanka Navy in compliance with the naval traditions. INS Bushehr is a 107-meter-long ship manned by 270 crew members and it's commanded by Commander Mahdi Barwadi. INS Tanub is a 95-meter-long platform with a crew of 250. It is commanded by Commander Muhammad Haji Zeda. Meanwhile, the commanding officers of the ships are scheduled to call on Commander of the Western Naval Area and Director General Operations of the Navy during the stay in the country. Sri Lanka Navy said that both sides will be participating in various programs aimed at fostering cooperation, adding that the new crew members of the Iranian ship will have the opportunity to visit several tourist attractions in the island nation. Deputy Secretary of State for Management and Resources, Richard R. Verma, will travel to India, the Maldives and Sri Lanka between February 18 to the 23rd to strengthen the United States cooperation with each of these key Indo-Pacific partners. Shortly following the 2-year anniversary of the U.S. Indo-Pacific strategy, his trip will reaffirm the United States' enduring commitment to a free, open, secure and a prosperous region. Deputy Secretary Verma will conclude his trip to Colombo, Sri Lanka, and his meetings with senior officials will support U.S.-Sri Lankan defense and maritime security cooperation. The Deputy Secretary will visit the port of Colombo's West Container Terminal, where the United States is supporting Sri Lanka's ongoing economic recovery through $553 million in financing to transform Colombo into a regional shipping hub. And to conclude the local news, the headlines once again. The need to seek solutions for the present economic crisis has been pointed out. Primary health services should be strengthened in order to minimize the patient congestion in government hospitals. Deputy Secretary of State for Management and Resources will travel to India, the Maldives and Sri Lanka. Two Iranian naval ships dock at the port of Colombo. And that was the local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
The main news story for this evening, Minister Suse Premajat says that there should be a group of responsible officials to solve the professional issues in the services of teachers, principals and other related educational fields. A separate unit will be established in the Ministry of Education, combining the 9 provinces. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
In Watch Live this evening, the National Water Supply and Drainage Board stated that a 16-hour water cut will be imposed to several areas in Colombo today until 9 a.m. tomorrow. Accordingly, the water supply to Colombo 11, 12, 13, 14 and 15 will be affected. And that came to you in Watch Light.
Coming up, World News.
Headlines of the world news: Ukrainian troops leave embattled eastern town. Protests in Russia and global demonstrations mark Alexei Navalny's death. Israel-Gaza war, satellite images show construction on Egypt's border. Those were the headlines, and now let's move on to the details of the world news. Ukraine says its troops have withdrawn from Avdiivka, a key eastern town besieged by Russian forces for months. The decision was taken in order to save the soldiers' lives, said President Volodymyr Zelensky. Almost all of Avdiivka's pre-war population of more than 30,000 people have left the city itself, and it almost completely destroyed. Its fall marks Russia's biggest win for months, and Mr. Zelensky blamed faltering Western weapon supplies. Ukraine has been experiencing shortages in ammunition, mainly as a result of political squabbling in the US, its main supplier. Protests and vigils have been held near Russian embassies in many countries following the death of Alexei Navalny in Russian jail. More than 100 street protesters were detained in Russian cities, reports say, as people were warned not to rally. A spokesperson for the outspoken critic confirmed his death today after it was first reported yesterday by the penal colony where he was serving his sentence. The UK's Foreign Secretary David Cameron said there should be consequences over the death, adding that the UK will be taking action. Satellite images appear to show extensive construction work in progress along Egypt's border with Gaza, which reports claim is being carried out in preparation for housing Palestinian refugees. Unnamed Egyptian sources reportedly said the work is being done in order to set up an isolated buffer zone containing a walled enclosure in Egypt's North Sinai province in case Israel goes ahead with its planned ground offensive in Gaza's southernmost city, Rafah. According to a report published by human rights group, 7-meter-high walls are being constructed in the zone. And that was the world news, and now let's move on to development news. Sports Ministry of the Southern Province says that a program has commenced to develop the rural playgrounds in the Galle district. Under the first stage, each playground will be developed on Divisional Secretariat divisional level. 20 billion rupees has been allocated in this regard. That was the development news, and sports news coming up.
Moving on with sports news.
Sri Lanka T20I skipper Vanidhu Hasaranga says that his team is one of the top bowling sides in the world. His comments came on the eve of the first T20I of the 3-match series between Sri Lanka and Afghanistan. Both sides will be playing 6 T20I each before the T20 World Cup in June later this year, and the current series will comprise of 3 of their 6 matches. T20 series kick off at 7 p.m. today at the Rangiri Dambulla Stadium. That was the sports news. Business news up next.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න as වහගෙන දැකපු හීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business news sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
In business news, Sri Lankan Cargo and Cargo.one unveiled an exciting global partnership to bring in Sri Lanka's national carrier's cargo capacity to the leading platform for digital air cargo bookings yesterday. comprising its first digital sales channel for air cargo, Cargo.one, will soon deliver its user-friendly and efficient booking platform for all Sri Lankan cargo's global offers. That was the business news. Economic news follows.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go එකක් තියන youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හින හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
In economic news, the Embassy of Sri Lanka in Iran, in collaboration with the Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Bureau, the Association of Air Transport and Tourist Agencies of Iran, and Akin Spence Travels, organized Ceylon Persia Tourism Awareness Program 2024 at the Chancery premises in Tehran recently. Over 35 tour operating companies, outbound tour operators, representatives from the media and airlines were in attendance. That is economic news and the weather report to conclude.
Weather report.
And finally, the weather report. A few showers may occur in the eastern and lower provinces. Showers or thunder showers may occur at a few places in the western and Sabargamura provinces and in the Gaul and Mathura districts after 2 p.m. Fairly strong winds, about 40 km per hour, can be expected at some times in the eastern slopes of the Central Hills and in the northern, north central, northwestern, Uva and eastern provinces and in the Hambantota and Kandy districts. That was the weather report, and before we conclude this bulletin, let's get back to the headlines once again. The need to seek solutions for the present economic crisis has been pointed out. Primary health services should be strengthened in order to minimize the patient's congestion in government hospitals. Deputy Secretary of State for Management and Resources will travel to India, the Maldives and Sri Lanka. 2 Iranian naval ships dock at the port of Colombo. In news overseas, Ukrainian troops leave embattled eastern town. With that, we conclude this bulletin of news, and now it's back to your Saturday evening host and my good friend Shantima on the other side of the glass panel to keep you entertained.